My name is Helen Morrison. I'm 61 years old, and until 4 months ago, I thought I knew my daughter. I taught high school English for 33 years before I retired last June. My husband Tom passed away 4 years ago after a brief battle with pancreatic cancer. It happened so fast we barely had time to process it. One day he was complaining about back pain, and 3 months later he was gone. The life insurance payout was substantial. Tom had always been meticulous about our finances, and he'd made sure I'd be taken care of. Between that, my pension, and our paid-off house in Boulder, Colorado, I was more than comfortable. I wasn't wealthy by any means, but I didn't have to worry about money. I spent the first year after Tom died just trying to remember how to breathe. The second year, I started volunteering at the local library and took up watercolor painting. By the third year, I was traveling with my friend group, taking a pottery class, and genuinely enjoying my life again. I'd learned that being alone doesn't mean being lonely. I had my book club, my garden, my art. I had purpose. My daughter Jessica is 34. She married Ryan 6 years ago, and they have a 5-year-old son, my grandson, Matthew. I love that boy more than words can express. Jessica and Ryan live about 40 minutes away in Denver. She works in marketing, and Ryan is in real estate, or at least that's what he says he does. I've never been entirely clear on the details of his work. They have a nice house, nice cars, nice things. Everything always looked perfect from the outside. But 6 months ago, things started to change. It began with small requests. Could I watch Matthew for the weekend? Of course I said yes. Could I lend them $2,000 until Ryan's commission check came in? I hesitated but agreed. It's family after all. Could I co-sign for a car lease because their credit was temporarily tied up in investments? That's when I started to feel uncomfortable. I said no to that one. Jessica cried on the phone. She said I didn't trust her, that I was treating her like a child. I stood firm. The crying stopped abruptly, and she said she had to go. The conversation felt manufactured, like she'd flipped a switch. That's when I started paying attention. I noticed things I'd been too grief-stricken or too trusting to see before. The way Ryan's eyes would dart around my house during visits, lingering on my jewelry box, the artwork Tom and I had collected, the antique furniture. The way Jessica would casually mention the value of my neighborhood, how much houses were selling for, how I rattled around in a 4-bedroom home all by myself. The way they'd exchange glances when I talked about my plans to donate to the Library Foundation or fund a scholarship in Tom's name. In March, Jessica called and asked if we could have dinner. Just the 3 of us, she said. Matthew would be with Ryan's parents. She said she had something important to discuss. I suggested we meet at a restaurant, but she insisted on coming to my house. She wanted to cook for me, she said. Let her take care of me for once. I should have known right then. They arrived on a Saturday evening. Jessica brought all the ingredients for lasagna, Tom's favorite. I found that detail particularly manipulative in retrospect. Ryan carried an expensive bottle of wine. He was overly friendly, complimenting everything from my garden to my new haircut. It felt performative. We made small talk during dinner. Jessica asked about my art classes and my book club. Ryan talked about the real estate market. Everything seemed normal until we moved to the living room for coffee. That's when Jessica pulled out her phone and showed me pictures of a restaurant space. Mom, she said, her eyes bright with what I now know was desperation masked as excitement. Ryan and I have an incredible opportunity. There's a restaurant space available in Lodo. The location is perfect. We have the business plan ready, the concept is solid, and we already have investors lined up. We just need to come up with our portion of the investment. How much? I asked. $150,000, Ryan said, leaning forward. But Mom, the return on investment will be incredible. Within 2 years, we'll triple that amount. And this isn't just about money. This is about building something for Matthew's future. A family legacy. I noticed he called me Mom. He'd never done that before. That's a significant amount of money, I said carefully. We know, Jessica said quickly. And we wouldn't ask if we weren't absolutely certain about this. Ryan has experience in commercial real estate. I've worked with restaurant clients in marketing. We've done all the research. This is a sure thing. There's no such thing as a sure thing, Tom used to say. If someone tells you it's a sure thing, check your wallet. I'll need to think about it, I said. The temperature in the room dropped. Ryan's smile became fixed. Jessica's expression hardened. Think about it? She repeated. Mom, you have to make a decision now. If we don't move on this by next week, we'll lose the opportunity. Then I guess you'll lose the opportunity, I said calmly. I don't make six-figure financial decisions on the spot. Ryan stood up. His face was flushed. With all due respect, Helen, what else are you planning to do with that money? You're sitting on over $500,000 from Dad's life insurance, plus your pension. You live alone in a house that's worth at least $800,000. Meanwhile, Jessica and I are trying to build something, and you won't even help your own daughter. Jessica put her hand on his arm, but she didn't tell him to stop. She just looked at me with this expression I'd never seen before. Calculation. Cold calculation. That money, I said slowly, is for my retirement, for my security, and yes, for Matthew's college fund that his grandfather set up. It's not investment capital for a risky business venture. Risky? Jessica's voice was shrill now. You think we'd ask you to invest in something risky? You don't trust us. You don't believe in us. After everything we've done for you since Dad died, what have you done for me? I asked. The question came out more sharply than I intended, but I was genuinely curious. I couldn't think of a single thing they'd done that wasn't at my initiation or for their benefit. Jessica's mouth opened and closed. We visit you. We include you in Matthew's life. We call you. We make sure you're not alone. I visit you, I corrected. I drive to Denver. You come here maybe once every 2 months, and I'm not alone. I have a full life. I'm 61, not 91. I'm not sitting here in the dark waiting for someone to save me from loneliness. That's when Ryan slammed his fist on my coffee table. My favorite ceramic mug, the one Tom had given me on our 20th anniversary, jumped and fell to the floor. It shattered. 25 years of marriage, reduced to pieces on my hardwood floor. You're being selfish, Ryan said. His voice was low and mean. You're a selfish old woman who would rather hoard money than help her own family. Jessica stood up. She was crying, but something about those tears felt wrong. Too calculated, too performative. Fine, she said. Fine. We won't ask you for anything ever again. But don't expect us to keep bringing Matthew around. Don't expect us to be there when you actually do need help. When you're too old to manage on your own, and you need someone to make medical decisions for you, to take care of you, remember this moment. Remember that you chose money over your family. They left. The door slammed hard enough that one of my framed photographs fell off the wall. I sat there, staring at the broken mug, and something cold settled in my chest. Not sadness. Not guilt. Clarity. I picked up my phone and called my friend, Patricia. Patricia is 70, sharp as a tack, and worked as a family attorney for 40 years before retiring. We'd met in book club 3 years ago. Patricia, I said when she answered, I need your advice, and I might need the name of a good private investigator. The next morning, Patricia came over with coffee and the business card of a private investigator named Marcus Webb. I've known Marcus for 20 years, she said. He's discreet, thorough, and honest. If there's something to find, he'll find it. I hired Marcus that afternoon. I told him everything. The requests for money, the pressure tactics, Ryan's vague job description, the sudden restaurant opportunity that required immediate investment, Jessica's threatening comments about access to Matthew. Mrs. Morrison, Marcus said gently, I'm going to be blunt. In my experience, when adult children suddenly need large amounts of money and use grandchildren as leverage, it's rarely about a business opportunity. It's usually debt. Gambling, drugs, shopping, bad investments. Something they don't want you to know about. How long will it take you to find out? I asked. Give me 2 weeks. He called me in 10 days. We need to meet in person, he said. I have a report for you. I met Marcus at a coffee shop in Boulder. He handed me a folder. I'm sorry, he said before I even opened it. This isn't going to be easy to read. It wasn't. Ryan had gambling debts totaling over $270,000. He'd been banned from 3 casinos in Black Hawk. He'd maxed out 4 credit cards. Their house had a second mortgage they'd taken out 8 months ago. Their cars were both leased, and they were behind on payments. Jessica's credit cards were maxed out too. She'd been using them to cover their basic living expenses while Ryan threw money away trying to win back his losses. There was no restaurant opportunity. Marcus had checked. The space Jessica showed me in the photos? It had been leased out 3 months ago. The entire presentation had been a fabrication. But the worst part, the part that made my hands shake as I read, was a series of text messages Marcus had obtained through legal but invasive means I didn't fully understand and didn't want to. Messages between Jessica and Ryan discussing my finances, discussing how much they thought the house was worth, discussing my life insurance policy, discussing whether I'd updated my will, discussing whether they could contest it if I had. There was one text from Ryan that I'll never forget. Your mom's only 61. She could live another 30 years. We don't have 30 years. We need that money now. You need to push harder. Use the kid. She's soft about Matthew. Threaten to cut off access. Make her think she'll die alone. Jessica's response, I'm trying. She's more stubborn than I thought. Maybe we need a different approach. I sat in that coffee shop and felt something break inside me. Not my heart. My heart had already broken when Tom died. This was different. This was the last thread of naivety, the last bit of willingness to make excuses for bad behavior because it was family. Marcus, I said quietly, I need you to do something else for me. I had him install cameras in my house, small, discreet cameras in the main living areas. I changed my locks and made sure only I had keys. I updated my will with Patricia's help, establishing a trust for Matthew that Jessica and Ryan couldn't touch until he turned 25. I moved the majority of my liquid assets into accounts they didn't know about. I documented everything, every text message, every voicemail, every interaction, and then I waited. I knew they'd come back. Marcus said they would. They're desperate, he explained. Desperate people make mistakes, and when they do, you need to be ready. 3 weeks later, Jessica called. Her voice was sweet, apologetic. She said she and Ryan had overreacted. They'd been under so much stress. They'd found other investors for the restaurant. They didn't need my money after all. They wanted to make amends. Could they come for dinner? They'd bring Matthew. She knew how much I missed him. Of course, I said. I'd love to see Matthew. Patricia thought I was crazy. Helen, you know this is a trap. I know, I said. That's why I'm ready for it. They came on a Sunday afternoon. Matthew ran into my arms, and for a moment everything else faded. He's 5 years old. He has Tom's eyes. He told me about his kindergarten class and showed me a drawing he'd made of our family. In his picture, I was in the center, surrounded by hearts. I had to bite the inside of my cheek to keep from crying. Jessica and Ryan were on their best behavior at first. Ryan complimented my garden again. Jessica helped me set the table. We had pot roast, another one of Tom's favorites. I wondered if that was deliberate too. After dinner, Matthew went to play with the toys I keep for him in the spare bedroom. That's when Jessica's expression changed. Mom, she said, we need to talk about something serious. Here we go, I thought. Ryan and I have been talking, and we're worried about you. Worried? I kept my voice neutral. You're living alone in this big house, Ryan said. At your age, that's not safe. What if you fall? What if you have a medical emergency? What if someone breaks in? I'm 61, not 81, I said. I'm perfectly capable of living alone. But you don't have to, Jessica said quickly. She reached across the table and grabbed my hand. Her palm was sweaty. We think it makes sense for us to move in, all of us. We can sell our house, consolidate expenses. We'll be here to help you. Matthew would love having his grandmother around all the time. There it was, the different approach. Move in, I repeated flatly. Just temporarily, Ryan added, until we get on our feet with the restaurant. I thought you found other investors. They exchanged a glance. The deal fell through, Jessica said. But that doesn't change the fact that this makes sense for everyone. Think about Matthew. Think about having your grandson here every day. No, I said. Jessica's face hardened. No? No. You're not moving into my house. This is my home. I worked for 33 years for this. Tom and I built this life together. I'm not giving it up. Ryan stood up so fast his chair fell backward. You're unbelievable. You have 4 bedrooms. 4. You use 1. Meanwhile, we're drowning, and you won't lift a finger to help. You're drowning because Ryan gambles, I said calmly. You're drowning because you've accumulated over $270,000 in debt. You're drowning because you made bad choices, and now you want me to bail you out. The silence was deafening. Jessica's face went white, then red. How do you know that? I hired a private investigator. I know everything. I know about the casinos. I know about the credit cards. I know about the second mortgage. I know there is no restaurant. I know you've been planning this for months. Ryan's face was purple now. You spied on us? You hired someone to spy on your own daughter? You plotted to take my house. You discussed my life insurance. You planned to use my grandson as a weapon against me. My voice was still calm, but my hands were shaking. I clasped them together in my lap. I protected myself. That's not spying. That's survival. Jessica stood up. She was shaking. You've ruined everything. We needed that money. We needed your help. And you chose money over your own daughter. I chose myself, I said. I chose my security. I chose my future. And yes, I chose to protect Tom's legacy from being gambled away in a casino. That's when Jessica picked up her wine glass and threw it at me. Not just the wine, the glass. It hit me in the shoulder and shattered against the wall behind me. Glass rained down. Wine splattered across my white blouse, my face, my hair. A piece of glass cut my cheek. Ryan was screaming. Jessica was screaming. I heard Matthew crying from the other room, and I just sat there, wine dripping down my face, feeling a strange sense of calm. Get out, I said quietly. We're not done, Ryan said. He took a step toward me, and for a moment, I thought he might actually hit me. I pulled out my phone. I'm calling the police. You have 60 seconds to get out of my house, or I'm pressing charges for assault. You wouldn't, Jessica said, but her voice was uncertain now. Try me. I started dialing. They left. They grabbed Matthew, who was crying for me, and they left. The door slammed. Tires squealed in my driveway. I sat there for a moment, wine dripping, glass sparkling on my floor. Then I called Patricia. It happened, I said. It's all on camera. Patricia arrived 20 minutes later with Marcus. They checked the footage. Everything was there. The demands, the threats, the assault, clear as day. Helen, Patricia said gently, this is enough for a restraining order. This is enough to press charges. Do it, I said. Do all of it. Marcus looked at me with something like respect. You planned this. Not the glass, I said. I didn't know she'd throw something at me. But yes, I planned to let them reveal themselves. I needed proof. I needed everyone to see who they really are. The next morning, I went to the police station. I filed a report. I showed them the video. I showed them Marcus's investigation. I showed them the threatening text messages I'd received overnight. Jessica had sent 17 messages, ranging from apologies to threats. Ryan had sent 9. They were volatile, contradictory, desperate. The police took it seriously. An officer came to my house to document the scene, photograph the broken glass, the wine stains. They took pictures of the cut on my cheek, the bruise forming on my shoulder. Patricia filed for a restraining order. It was granted within 48 hours. Jessica and Ryan were ordered to stay at least 500 feet away from me, my home, and my place of worship. They were prohibited from contacting me in any way. But it was the next discovery that truly devastated me. Marcus kept digging, and he found out that over the past year, Ryan had been forging checks from their joint account with Jessica's knowledge. They'd written 3 checks from an old checkbook of mine that I'd thought was lost. $8,000 total. They'd deposited them through mobile deposit, hoping I wouldn't notice. I hadn't, because I rarely checked that particular account. It was an old savings account Tom and I had set up years ago with a small balance. I'd forgotten about it. That was bank fraud. That was a felony. I went back to the police with Marcus's evidence. They opened a criminal investigation. The district attorney's office got involved. Jessica and Ryan hired a lawyer. Their lawyer called Patricia and tried to negotiate. They'd pay back the money, they said. They'd go to therapy. They'd stay away. Just don't press charges. Think about Matthew. Think about how this will affect him. It's not my job to protect them from the consequences of their actions, I told Patricia. My job is to protect myself and to protect Matthew's future from them. The criminal charges proceeded. Bank fraud, forgery, theft. And because of the assault caught on camera, Jessica was charged with assault in the 3rd degree. 3 months later, they took a plea deal. Probation, restitution, community service. No jail time, but criminal records. Ryan's real estate license was suspended. Jessica lost her job when her company found out about the charges. I didn't feel victorious. I felt empty. Matthew was with Ryan's parents now. Jessica's rights weren't terminated, but Child Protective Services had gotten involved. The whole mess had been reported. Jessica and Ryan were required to take parenting classes, undergo financial counseling, and submit to random drug and alcohol testing. Through all of this, I kept wondering where I'd gone wrong. I raised Jessica by myself while Tom worked long hours. I drove her to soccer practice and dance lessons. I helped with her homework. I taught her to read, to ride a bike, to stand up for herself. Where did it go wrong? Patricia said I was asking the wrong question. You didn't fail, she told me over coffee one afternoon. You did everything right. But at some point, Jessica made her own choices. She chose Ryan. She chose to prioritize money over integrity. She chose to gamble on a quick fix instead of doing the hard work. Those were her choices, not yours. 6 months after that terrible dinner, I'm sitting in my living room with new carpet where the wine stains couldn't be removed. The broken mug is still gone. I've started painting again, watercolors of the mountains I can see from my back porch. I've joined a new book club, this one focused on mysteries. I find it grimly appropriate. I have a lawyer-approved arrangement to send letters and photos to Matthew through a third party. His other grandmother brings him to a supervised location once a month where I can see him for 2 hours. He doesn't understand why he can't come to my house anymore. I tell him it's complicated, that grown-ups sometimes have disagreements that kids don't need to worry about. He's 6 now. He still draws pictures of me with hearts. Jessica sent one letter through her lawyer. She didn't apologize exactly. She said she regretted how things happened. She said Ryan was getting help for his gambling. She said she hoped someday we could move past this. She didn't acknowledge the theft, the lies, the manipulation. She framed it as a mutual conflict, a misunderstanding that got out of hand. I didn't respond. People ask me if I regret pressing charges, if I regret getting the restraining order, if I regret losing my relationship with my daughter. The answer is complicated. I regret that it came to this. I regret that Jessica made the choices she made. I regret that Matthew is caught in the middle, but I don't regret protecting myself. I don't regret refusing to be a victim. I don't regret drawing a line and saying no further. I'm 61 years old. If I'm lucky, I have another 25, maybe 30 years ahead of me. I refuse to spend those years afraid of my own daughter. I refuse to spend them wondering when the next demand will come, the next threat, the next scheme. I refuse to let anyone make me feel guilty for having boundaries. Being a mother doesn't mean being a doormat. Being a grandmother doesn't mean accepting abuse. Being alone doesn't mean being desperate for connection at any cost. I learned those lessons the hard way. I teach them now, in my own way. I've started speaking at senior centers, at community centers, about elder financial abuse, about how it usually comes from family, about how to protect yourself, about how love doesn't mean unlimited access to your resources, about how it's okay to say no. People thank me after these talks. They tell me their stories, so many stories. The son who stole his mother's credit cards, the daughter who convinced her father to sign over power of attorney and then emptied his accounts, the grandchildren used as bargaining chips, the emotional manipulation, the guilt trips, the accusations of selfishness when what they really mean is you won't let us exploit you. We're told that family is everything. We're told that parents should sacrifice for their children. We're told that blood is thicker than water. But what they don't tell you is that sometimes the people who share your blood are the ones who will bleed you dry. And when that happens, you have to choose yourself. I chose myself. I chose my security, my peace, my future. I chose to protect what Tom and I built together. I chose to ensure that Matthew would have something left when he turns 25, that trust fund his grandfather set up that Jessica and Ryan can never touch. Some of my friends think I'm too harsh. They say Jessica might change, that I should leave the door open. Maybe they're right. Maybe 10 years from now, Jessica will have dealt with her issues and will find some way to rebuild. But that door will open on my terms, not hers. And it will only open when I'm convinced that she sees me as a person, not a bank account, as a mother, not a mark. Until then, I have my life, my art classes and my book clubs, my garden and my volunteer work, my friends and my independence. I have my dignity. I have my boundaries. And I have the certain knowledge that I can take care of myself, that I don't need anyone's permission to protect my own interests. I'm 61 years old. I'm not senile. I'm not weak. I'm not desperate. I'm not a victim. I'm a woman who worked for 3 decades, who raised a daughter, who lost a husband, who survived grief, and who refused to be anyone's cash machine. And if I have any advice for anyone in a similar situation, it's this: trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. If someone is pressuring you to make immediate financial decisions, that's a red flag. If someone threatens to withhold grandchildren unless you comply, that's manipulation. If someone tells you that setting boundaries means you don't love them, they're lying. Document everything. Get legal advice. Protect your assets. Change your passwords. Monitor your credit reports. Install cameras if you need to. Hire a private investigator if you have to. Yes, it costs money. But it costs less than losing everything. And most importantly, don't let anyone make you feel guilty for taking care of yourself. You worked for what you have. You sacrificed for what you have. You earned it. And you have every right to protect it, even from your own children, especially from your own children, if they've shown you that they see you as a resource rather than a person. Set the boundaries. Have the hard conversations. Accept that not everyone will understand. Accept that some people will call you selfish. Accept that you might lose relationships you thought were unbreakable. But don't accept being used. Don't accept being abused. Don't accept being diminished because of your age or your grief or your love for your grandchildren. I look at Matthew's pictures on my wall. He's smiling in every single one. Tom is in many of them, back when he was still alive, back when we were still a family. I don't know if Jessica looks at these same photos and feels regret, or if she still thinks I'm the villain in her story. But I know this: I can sleep at night. I can look at myself in the mirror. I can live with my choices. Can she live with hers? That's her burden to carry, not mine. I'm 61 years old, and I'm just getting started with the rest of my life. And this time, I'm living it on my terms, nobody else's.